Hey there, and welcome to the At Heart YouTube channel, where we share tactical advice to help you grow your small business and as an entrepreneur. I am Brighton Udy, and today we're going to dig into a little bit of content creation and social media strategy. But first, before we dive in, if you would like to stay up to date on all of our future videos and continue to learn how to grow your small business and as an entrepreneur, please hit the subscribe button and the bell to stay up to date, and also give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out and spreads the word about the content that we're creating. So, content marketing, social media marketing, these are not new concepts, and a lot of businesses struggle to kind of keep up with the trends and often get overwhelmed when trying to think about how they're going to implement social media content and content creation for their business. Today, I'm going to simplify that all down and make it really manageable and also fun for you to create content that is going to appeal and entertain and engage your audience. So the first way that we're going to do that is I'm going to tear a page out of Gary Vaynerchuk's book. So anybody that follows Gary V-E-E, I think there's two E's, he talks about content pillar creation. Now, what is a content pillar? What does that mean? Content creation from a pillar standpoint is creating a long form piece of content that is published on a regular basis. Think of it as like a radio show or a TV show or even a newspaper that is constantly released on a schedule. Examples of this are podcasts. Podcasts are one of the best examples of pillar content, and honestly, they're becoming wildly popular, not only in the entertainment space, and I mean, Spotify has been investing a lot into acquiring podcasts, but also in the business world. It gives any business the opportunity to communicate and add value and educate their audience and their customers. So a long form piece of content like a podcast is a great way to create and focus on one piece of content a week. By focusing on this one piece of content for a weekly period, you're able to then, by default, actually pull out smaller pieces of content for social media. As you probably know, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn, all have a more of a short format type of platform, all of them. So creating a tweet, I mean, I'm pretty sure right now it's only 240 characters. It used to be 140, I'm pretty sure, so they added more. And Instagram, you can post a limited number of photos or videos in the same carousel or just one. Their stories have a minute maximum in length and continuous recording. And also Facebook is a very limited amount of information that people consume on a consistent basis. Same with LinkedIn. It's all little snippets, little clips, and little bite-sized chunks that we consume on all of these platforms. So how do you create content for these platforms without going crazy, without being so overwhelmed? Focus on the pillar piece of content first. For us, for At Heart Co., this is the pillar piece of content. This video is going to act as the pillar piece that I'm going to then break down, and I'm going to walk through that process with you into smaller bite-sized chunks that will be published on social media, whether that be Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, and the list goes on. But this is going to be that one piece of content that I focus on every week. For me, it's every Friday. I record this video. Right now, this one is actually on Friday. Last week, I did the same thing. The week before that, I did the exact same thing. Recorded the content on Friday, edit it in its long form, upload it to YouTube to be published on the next Wednesday, and then also edit it down from an audio standpoint where it can be shared on the podcast. So if you're listening to this on the podcast right now, hello, this is also for YouTube. Then we can start stripping it down, breaking it up into smaller bite-sized chunks for social media. That's honestly the best way to get started on consistently implementing social media on a regular basis. So my recommendation to you would be to start with one piece of long-form content. Whether that be a video series that you do once a week, a podcast that you do once a week, and honestly, it could be a weekly update that you do on Instagram. Whatever you enjoy and love to do, make it consistent. Make it a weekly thing, at least, where every Wednesday you're gonna release a video, or every Friday you're gonna release a podcast, or every Monday you're gonna share a new recipe and how to make that dish with your followers. So that would be step one, is really figuring out what your pillar piece of content is going to be. One thing that I would make sure that you consider when creating your pillar piece of content, though, is making sure that it provides some sort of value for your audience. As an example, At Heart Co's channel is dedicated to helping small business owners implement tactical tips and tricks and strategies to help them grow their businesses. And this channel is also dedicated to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and help them in a personal development standpoint as well. But with my band, Leaving Thomas, that I was a part of for 5 years, we spent a ton of time trying to entertain our audience. The goal of the content was a little bit different from At Heart to Leaving Thomas, the duo, but the structure of creating that content was exactly the same. We scheduled time to create that pillar piece of content, and honestly, with Leaving Thomas, we had 3 or 4 pillars. We had a podcast and a weekly YouTube show. We did acoustic covers every week. We had a lot going on, but having that structure helped us immensely with creating content that was entertaining for our followers, for our fans, for our audience. So think about that. What are you really wanting to provide? What type of gift or offering are you wanting to give to your audience? And how are you gonna package that? And what is also the fun way that you can do that? So what type of content can you create from your pillar piece of content? Well, obviously it depends on what sort of medium you're using. If you're using audio, you're only gonna have just the audio to use in your social media, which is a little bit limited. Whereas if you use video, you can actually strip that down into many different forms of content. You can do shorter video clips. You can do those for your Instagram stories, or you can do that for longer form video on LinkedIn and Facebook, or even Instagram as well. And then you can also use the information and the quotes that you use from the video and turn them into images or quote type graphics that you can share on your accounts as well. We do this all the time. I will likely take something I say from this video right now, turn it into a quote where it's a still image. It's just another way to consume the information. Infographics and statistics are another great way to capture your audience's attention. So if there's a really crazy stat or a really interesting infographic that you can share from the content that you've talked about in your content pillar, it's a great opportunity to turn that into something that's a little bit easier to consume from the context of the platform that you're on. Gary Vaynerchuk, going back to him, he's kind of the godfather of this entire concept. He does a really, really interesting thing when it comes to creating content. And obviously he has a full team that does this, but he'll take a keynote that he's done in a certain city and turns it into a comic strip. And his team actually animates each scene of a conversation that he would potentially have with somebody in public or at a keynote. And it brings it down into a different format. No matter what type of content or how long that piece of content is, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks and publishing that on social media is a very good way to start to spread awareness about this larger channel and get people engaged. This leads me to my next point. You need to love what you do. You need to love the content you're creating. You have to be excited about it. If it's audio that you love or video that you love or written content that you love, it doesn't matter. You need to enjoy it. You need to be excited about creating that next piece of content and look forward to it, because if you don't, you're not going to do it. So figure out what you enjoy, what medium you really, really love, and dive head first. Don't be afraid to create some sort of content that you think might not connect with the audience. It doesn't matter. Put something out, get started, begin the journey of creating content that is educational. And then as you're posting on social media, we talk about the 80-20 rule at Heart with our branding clients all the time. 80% of the content that you put out should be value driven. The other 20% should be ask driven. And by ask, I mean that's a promotional offer, that's a sales offer. That's only 20% of the time. Coming back to Gary Vaynerchuk one more time, he talks about this in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. So the 3 jabs are value, value, value. Here's something for free, for free, for free. And then that right hook is the ask. It's here, I've got an offer, something that you can pay for. Here's something that you can do to take that next step. And it can be a sales message, right? So you have to outweigh the balance of your content and really lean into the value side of things instead of the sales things. I think a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs, honestly, a lot of artists specifically, push so much of the sales side. Download my music, purchase my product, listen to me, do this is what I'm doing, I'm so awesome. Which it's great, you need to do that, but you need to make sure that you're putting your perfect customer or perfect fan front and center, because that is where you are gonna actually build those connections and build those relationships. So it's important to put the fan first or your perfect customer first and create content for them that's going to help them transform their lives. Now, I'm gonna show you a few examples of the tools and strategy that I use in order to create our social media content. And I did this with Leaving Thomas to a large extent. Annika and I were very collaborative in our process when creating content for the band, whether it be a YouTube show or the podcast or what have you. We really gave some dedicated thought and planning into creating the content that we did. And I currently do that the exact same way with At Heart right now. Right now, all the content that I put out is me, 100%. I record the videos, edit them down, create social media content, engage with that social media content, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but it is a long journey and a consistent journey, and you really have to be doing it because you enjoy it, like I mentioned, but also because you wanna help and provide value to people. And I'm gonna show you exactly how I do that, the tools that I use, and hopefully it helps you in creating your own social media strategy and content strategy as you move forward with your business or entrepreneurial journey. I'm going to show you an example of how I actually schedule and publish the content that I create from my pillar piece of content that ends up being broken down into the more bite-sized pieces of content that we end up using for social media right here. So let me show you an example of a video clip that I would create through Later, which is an incredible platform, social media scheduling platform. This video is not sponsored by them at all. I just love their platform and I've been using it for years. So what's great about Later is it's created for Instagram first, which is obviously one of the most popular social media platforms out there currently. And you can automatically publish to Instagram if your video is under 1 minute or if you have one photo that you're posting, which is really, really helpful and is a big time saver. So an example of a video clip that I will use is, let's pull up this one. So this is something that I posted about Ray Dalio's book Principles and talked a little bit about the brand spirit. So what's great about this tool is that we can put the entire caption for the actual post right there. That automatically gets published, and so does the first comment, which is great. It's a great place to put the hashtags for your post. You can also get a link in bio. So if your account isn't verified, like At Heart Co's Instagram account is not verified at this point, you can use this tool to include different types of links in each of your posts. It's really, really handy. So this will give you an example of kind of the video content. Dalio talks about in his book is having principles that help you connect your actions to your values. So there's an example of what a piece of content might look like as a video clip. So like I mentioned earlier in this video right now is a part of our pillar piece of content. So what has happened is this is one of last week's posts, and it was from last week's video. And we have now cropped it down, broken it down into a smaller piece of content that is consumable and almost has its own context, which we can then refer back to the entire full-length video as well. Another piece of content that you could potentially create, like I mentioned, are quotes. And I have actually hired our go-to designer within At Heart Collective to design these templates for me to be able to go in and create a Instagram quote or an image quote that I can post on LinkedIn or social media, for example. So this one says, your perfect customer should be the main character of your brand story, not your brand. And that again is from the previous week's video, but is a different part of that video that I can now break down and really have a conversation about why perfect customers should be the main character of your story and not your brand. So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. It's a really, really good one, and it's packed full of branding know-how. So that's another example. You can create images and designs that are quotes or comments or even statistics within a design similar to this. Here's actually another example. So we quoted Richard Branson, put his image on there, and quoted him for one of his sayings, which is great. And the one other type of miniature, small bite-sized content that you can create are memes. Memes are a great way to pull in and hook in your perfect customer and your audience because they articulate what the actual content is going to be about. So you hook them in with the writing or the copy on the post, and then you deliver what you're promising in the copy through the video. So,
author, Holocaust survivor, and psychiatrist by the name of Viktor Frankl wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
So this gives you another example of what the content could look like and how you can create the caption and write a little bit deeper about what you're actually talking about here. So here's an example of a template that we've created so that we can make similar content to this much faster and much more efficiently. And we've done a little bit of work on the front end to make this possible. But when I am creating content for social media every Friday afternoon, it makes this so much easier and quicker for me to actually pull out a quote from the video that I've created or from a podcast interview and immediately inject it in here and have a different background. So how we've done that is parts of this design have remained similar, and we just do this in Photoshop, and we can change the background. And it looks different every time that we post a version of this. So what's great is we can do a plain white background, we can do a dark background, the salmon color, the dark blue with yellow, and the list goes on. So it makes it so much easier to edit this content. And what's great is I can just click on here and start typing a quote, and immediately it changes. And I can also change the background color, obviously, but also the profile image, and it kind of looks like a tweet, which is really interesting. So that's just an example of how we can actually create content in a very systematic and efficient manner for social media based on breaking it down from the pillar piece of content. So there you have it. That is how I create my social media content and push it out and publish it and make it as manageable as possible for me as a business owner who's running my own business. I have to serve my clients. I need to coordinate with my team members. I can't be doing this all the time. I can't wake up every single morning and worry about what I'm gonna post. So spending the time, honestly, one afternoon a week, honestly about 4 hours, I get all of this done so that I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the week, but I'm still offering value, I'm still offering content, and I'm still building an audience and relationships with that audience so that we can continue to build At Heart and help more people just like you transform their businesses and their lives. So I want to thank you for tuning in this week on the At Heart Co YouTube channel. Again, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, hit the bell for more details, and we will be back next week with another tactical video to help you grow your small business and as an entrepreneur.